Fireworks turned to silence when the world learned that Dusty Hill, the venerable bassist of ZZ Top, had suddenly passed away. In an instant, the thunderous grooves that formed the backbone of rock history felt incomplete, as if the stage light itself had dimmed. Fans across the globe exchanged bewildered messages, challenged to believe that the quiet giant of Texas boogie had been called away far too soon. Billy Gibbons, the band's iconic frontman, was thrust into an unthinkable position, to speak for a brother who suddenly could not speak for himself. What he said next would define not only the legacy of Dusty Hill, but also illuminate the soul of a band that had stood together for over half a century. For decades, ZZ Top thrived on an unshakable bond among its three members. Billy's fiery guitar solos, Frank Beard's steady drumming, and Dusty's warm, deep bass tones formed a perfect trinity. Each riff, each drum beat, each resonant low end fused into an everlasting tapestry of gritty blues rock swagger. Yet underneath these larger-than-life personas lay people bound by more than just music. They shared jokes in dressing rooms, stories in dimly lit hotels, and moments that transcended the bright glare of stadium lights. When Dusty Hill took his final rest, he took with him the last thread of that original trio, leaving behind an absence that felt as grand as any performance. Days passed in a fog of disbelief. Social media carried an outpouring of sorrow, painting timelines with black ribbons and sharing snapshots of Dusty's immovable bear and signature sunglasses. Fellow musicians posted humble tributes. In one corner of the internet, a young bassist confessed that Dusty's lines in La Grange were the very reason she picked up her first guitar. In another, an aging blues enthusiast recounted his first live show, marveling at how Dusty could fill a stadium without uttering a single word. Yet amid all the digital mourning, everyone waited for Billy Gibbons to break his silence. When Gibbons finally spoke, it wasn't with rehearsed lines or vague platitudes. He spoke with the weight of a man who had shared decades of triumphs, defeats, and everything in between with his closest friend. He began by acknowledging the shock. It was like losing a limb, he admitted, voice thick with emotion. But then he shifted, drawing listeners deeper. Dusty was never someone who demanded attention, but he commanded it by being the backbone. He painted vivid pictures of Dusty backstage, gently tuning his bass between sets, always ready with a grin or a comforting nod. Each anecdote carried the resonance of authenticity, as if Gibbons was inviting us into a private conversation between brothers. Amid that heartfelt revelation, Gibbons shared a detail that cut to the core of their partnership. Dusty's ritual of stepping backstage after every song to ensure the low end was never lost, a simple action that revealed his devotion to the craft more than any flashy solo ever could. Then, after a brief pause, Gibbons leaned closer, his voice dropping to a reverent hush. He recalled how Dusty, despite battling chronic pain and injury, refused to let the band slow down. Just days before his passing, Dusty had taken a break from touring to recover from a hip injury, yet he insisted on checking in on every rehearsal. He would watch us play through the pain, nodding approval when the beat felt right and offering a thumbs up when a riff landed. Gibbons said, "Those gestures, small, spoke volumes about Dusty's character. Unwavering, humble, committed." In that moment, the audience realized they weren't listening to Rock Story. They were witnessing portrait of a man who defined consistency in an industry built on change. Yet his words did more than soothe. They sparked a wave of understanding that transcended mere fandom. Fans recited every phrase, dissecting each memory of Dusty's quiet intensity. Social platforms brimmed with clips of interviews, comment threads blossomed with personal stories, and even people who rarely engaged with rock news found themselves drawn to Billy's candid recollections. In those moments, ZZ Top ceased to be just a band. They became a living testament to loyalty and brotherhood. That public statement transformed into a beacon, guiding fans through the fog of loss and inviting them into a collective space of remembrance. Behind the scenes, the remaining duo faced decisions that would reshuffle the band's destiny. Frank Beard, long accustomed to Dusty's grounded presence beside him, now grappled with an empty drum riser. Gibbons and Beard convened late into the nights, strategizing every detail. Should they cancel upcoming dates or honor promises to their loyal audience. Fear and resolve warred within them. Canceling could be seen as abandonment of fans, forging ahead without Dusty risk tarnishing the essence of ZZ Top. Ultimately, they chose to embrace Dusty's own mantra, "The show must go on," a message he delivered in his final phone call to Gibbons, mustered through pain but brimming with determination. Rehearsals resumed in a modest warehouse turned studio, guitars and drums echoing against concrete walls. Gibbons tuned his strings with reverence, imagining Dusty's low-end warmth filling the space. Beard tapped each beat with measured solemnity, visualizing their brother standing to his left. Elwood Francis, the longtime guitar tech whom Dusty had personally suggested as a stand-in, arrived carrying a humble bass guitar. His presence both comforted and unsettled the band, a life raft offering stability, yet a reminder of the depth of their loss. When Elwood played, his fingers moving methodically across the frets, it wasn't imitation but homage. He did not try to replicate Dusty's tone precisely, but he channeled the spirit of unwavering support. Audiences witnessed this transformation in the ensuing comeback shows. Critics had warned that ZZ Top's magic was inseparable from its original lineup. Yet the band stepped into arenas with renewed vigor. At a sold-out performance in Dallas, Gibbons kicked off with Sharp-Dressed Man, launching into the guitar riff with fire that echoed like a salute. Midway through the first set, he paused, shining a single spotlight on the empty spot where Dusty once stood. The silence stretched, charged with emotion, before Gibbons spoke. "This one's for you, brother." When the first notes of Tush rang out, Elwood's bass provided a deep pulse, honoring Dusty's legacy. The crowd roared, tears and cheers mingling, united by a shared vow to keep the music alive. In that moment, the band revealed its deepest truth. Legacy never dies when it is carried by those who remember. Gibbons explained that Dusty's final wish transcended stagecraft. It was a life philosophy. He showed us that commitment isn't measured by limelight, but by consistency, Billy said in a recent radio interview. Every gig, every riff, every backstage check. Dusty did it because he believed in the music more than anything. Such revelations only deepened the emotional bond between the band and its fans. People wrote letters, sent gifts, and shared how Dusty's dedication had inspired their own perseverance through life's hardships. Fans across generations have found comfort in these moments. Many credit Dusty's resilience for helping them endure personal losses. His unwavering dedication truly serves as a lesson in perseverance. Today, his bass grooves echo in hearts deeper than ever. The echo of his music and spirit lingers in every set the world watched. Billy Gibbons' decision to break silence became more than a news item. It was a moment that reminded rock fans how fragile fame and friendship can be when decades of history hang in the balance. Within hours of his statement, search trends spiked, streaming numbers for ZZ Top soared, and music journalists scrambled for deeper context. Yet beneath the analytics was a human story, a man wrestling with grief, choosing words that would honor a partner while reassuring legions that the door to their musical journey remained open. Gibbons did not shy away from describing how he faced Dusty's absence during the first rehearsal. "I found myself staring at an empty mic stand," he revealed, wondering if the vibe would ever be the same. In that stark confession, listeners recognized their own struggles with loss, forging an emotional bridge between artist and audience. He followed that by sharing the story of the day Dusty fell ill, painting a vivid scene that felt almost cinematic. He recalled the afternoon sun filtering through the tour bus windows as Dusty pulled himself from his seat, his face etched with the strain of years on the road. Billy described how Dusty put a hand on the back of the seat, leaned forward, and spoke in a hushed tone. "B, this hip's not letting me swing like before." That simple phrase resonated like a chord struck at just the right tension. It revealed the musician behind the myth, the man whose stoic exterior masked a body pushed beyond its limits. Gibbons contrasted that intimate moment with the thunderous roar of stadium crowds only days earlier, underlining the fragility of health against the backdrop of rock glory. Then he shifted, acknowledging the enormity of pressing on. "Every chord we play now carries his spirit," he said, "and every cheer reminds me why we must honor him on stage." Listeners heard not just loyalty, but a call to carry forward the legacy with renewed purpose. Media outlets picked up these candid moments, creating a mosaic of remembrance that extended beyond traditional music coverage. Podcasts devoted full episodes to dissecting every nuance of Gibbons' narration, while feature articles examined the band's next chapter. In interviews, producers framed Gibbons' words as a masterclass in leadership under grief. He had honored a friend without overshadowing his own persona. Commentators noted the contrast between Gibbons' soft-spoken reflections and his fiery guitar persona, calling it a testament to the complexity behind the bearded rock legend. As discussions swirled, a pattern emerged. Fans felt a renewed connection to the music, sensing that every bass line, every drum fill, every guitar solo was now imbued with Dusty's memory. It was as though Gibbons had lit a torch, passing it gently to the audience, inviting them to carry that flame through every song and every generation. Beyond the headlines, Gibbons' approach illuminated a broader truth about artistry and mortality. He showed that legacy isn't confined to vinyl grooves or concert footage, but lives in the way stories are told and retold. In sharing his grief so openly, he tapped into a universal longing to remember those who shaped our lives. Dusty Hill's bass lines will always echo in amplification rigs, but they will also resonate in the memories of anyone who leaned a little closer to hear the heartbeat behind the music. As the band forges ahead, every chord struck carries Dusty's silent nod. Every melody whispers the warmth of his presence, ensuring that this chapter in ZZ Top's history is not an end, but a living, breathing testament to friendship, artistry, and the power of a well-told story. It is a melody etched in time and in every heart. Beyond stepping back onto the stage, Gibbons dove into the studio with a renewed purpose. He approached each track as a tribute to Dusty, infusing riffs with mournful passion and hopeful resolve. The songs emerged both familiar and fresh, sonic tapestries woven from decades of blues heritage and road scars. Producers noted how Gibbons' voice carried an extra layer of vulnerability, a soft tremor that hinted at recent loss. In one unreleased track titled Brother's Echo, the lyrics speak of absent footsteps and silent harmonies left behind. Gibbons didn't shy away from exploring new textures, layering slide guitar with ambient passages that whispered Dusty's memory. Fans who heard early demos reported chills, as if each note bore the weight of a promise to continue. Word spread quickly, setting anticipation high for the official release that would honor Dusty's unwavering spirit. Meanwhile, Gibbons and Frank Beard partnered with a renowned filmmaker on a documentary that unearths never-before-seen footage. The film charts ZZ Top's rise from gritty Texas clubs to global arenas, interwoven with intimate scenes from behind the curtain. Rare audio clips capture Dusty's laughter in dressing rooms and his meticulous riff checks before every performance. Interviews with close friends and industry veterans reveal lesser-known chapters, including Dusty's youthful struggles and creative breakthroughs. The documentary's narrative arc mirrors the band's trajectory, illustrating peaks of euphoric success and valleys of personal hardship. Critics who previewed early cuts praised the film's balance, avoiding hagiography while celebrating Dusty's tenacity and warmth. For Gibbons, the project is more than a tribute. It's a time capsule that cements Dusty's influence for generations to come. Teaser trailers have already sparked chatter online, promising a cinematic homage that transcends a simple concert recap. Beyond music and film, Gibbons launched a foundation in Dusty's name dedicated to supporting musicians facing health challenges. The initiative provides grants for touring artists battling chronic conditions, covering medical expenses and therapy costs. Frank Beard and Elwood Francis joined as ambassadors, organizing benefit concerts and intimate jam sessions to raise awareness. Testimonials poured in from musicians who credit the foundation for saving careers and renewing creative hope. Gibbons often speaks about how Dusty would have insisted on giving back, championing underdogs just as he held the bass line steady. The foundation's signature event, dubbed Bass Lines and Broken Bones, celebrates resilience with performances and candid panels. Months after its launch, the program awarded its first round of grants to 5 artists, each sharing stories of struggle and survival. These philanthropic efforts reinforce the idea that Dusty's legacy extends beyond stage presence into acts of real-world compassion. Social media campaigns like hashtag #CarryOnTheBeat transformed fan engagement into a global sharing fest of Dusty-inspired content. Amateur bass players posted cover videos, layering their interpretations over original ZZ Top tracks in heartfelt tributes. Digital artists created graphic posters featuring Dusty's silhouette, remixing iconic imagery with modern design elements. Even virtual reality developers crafted interactive stage simulations that allow fans to experience Dusty's spot on a 3D platform. Viral TikToks juxtaposed Dusty's classic performances with fans dancing, teaching younger audiences the bass lines he perfected. A popular podcast series hosted a week of episodes examining Dusty's influence on modern rock and blues. Throughout these digital initiatives, Gibbons and Beard occasionally appeared, offering commentary and gratitude directly to the community. This online renaissance proved that Dusty's spirit resonated far beyond concert halls, finding new life in countless personal stories. Through all of these projects, Gibbons found solace in channeling grief into creation, transforming sorrow into sound. He credits Dusty's final message, "The show must go on," for guiding each decision, both artistic and personal. Family life, too, played a role in his recovery, as Gibbons spent time offstage nurturing relationships often neglected by touring. He's spoken about rediscovering simple joys, afternoon walks, acoustic jams at home, and late-night dinners with loved ones. This balance between introspection and performance enriched his artistry, infusing new work with context and emotional depth. Yet even in quieter moments, Gibbons feels Dusty's presence, a steady pulse that reminds him of what truly matters. With each strum of the guitar, he carries forward a bond that transcends absence, proving that memory can be as potent as any amp. As he looks to the horizon, Gibbons remains committed to honoring ZZ Top's signature style while evolving the sound for tomorrow. His journey underscores that true legacy thrives in echoes of melody, acts of generosity, and new stories shared across generations. Across continents, a diverse mosaic of fans has embraced the challenge of keeping Dusty Hill's legacy alive. In Tokyo's live houses, teenagers strap on battered bass guitars and play his signature grooves with reverence, their cityscapes lit by neon with hearts aligned to dusty Texas roads. In Sao Paulo basements, local musicians incorporate Dusty's pulsing lines into samba-infused rock sets, a bold cultural mashup that celebrates Brazilian rhythm and Texas swagger. Online, a UK-based community called Bass Brotherhood unites players across Europe to exchange tips on emulating Dusty's tone, while a sister forum in Australia shares photos of sunburned festival crowds swaying to Lagrange. These global echoes remind us that true artistry breaks borders. When a fan in Cairo posts a video of herself playing a soulful rendition of Tush at sunrise, it underscores how Dusty's spirit transcends time zones. Back on stage, Gibbons and Beard have embraced these stories as fuel for their performances. Each night's setlist features a moment inserted after legs, when Gibbons lowers his guitar and invites the audience to share a collective breath, a pause both somber and celebratory. Concertgoers hold up illuminated phones, paying tribute with silent flames. During that hush, the band projects archival footage of Dusty on a towering screen, rehearsal clips, candid backstage smiles, and moments when he leaned into the mic for a playful quip. Then, without fanfare, the first bass notes of Sharp-Dressed Man erupt, transforming introspection into a cathartic celebration. It's a ritual that channels grief into unity, uniting thousands in a shared moment that feels almost sacred. Critics and music historians have taken note of how ZZ Top has evolved in response to loss. No longer content with simply replicating past glories, Gibbons has woven thematic threads of memory and resilience into new compositions, allowing the band's narrative to unfold as both homage and ongoing legacy. Music publications praise this dynamic shift. Rolling Stone hails Brothers Echo as one of Gibbons' most emotionally potent tracks, while Guitar World lauds his ability to balance raw blues authenticity with modern production. By actively engaging with critics and scholars through interviews and guest lectures at music schools, Gibbons underscores that rock music can mature alongside its creators. He encourages a new generation of musicians to see legacy not as static, but as a living document. Beyond sold-out arenas, ZZ Top's renewed journey has also embraced community building in unexpected ways. Pop-up jam sessions in small towns, advertised with cryptic phone numbers and hand-drawn posters, have become secret pilgrimages for superfans. Artists swap stories about how Dusty inspired them during tough times, like competing in Battle of the Bands competitions or finding solace after personal loss. These grassroots gatherings spark local press coverage and often conclude with impromptu performances of classic riffs under starlit skies. For Gibbons, hearing these tales in person has deepened his conviction that music's power lies in shared experience. Each story he collects becomes part of an evolving anthology, feeding into interviews, liner notes, and even setlist tweaks that keep the performances fresh and emotionally charged. As this unfolding saga demonstrates, the essence of ZZ Top has withstood seismic change, not through mere repetition, but by embracing the tension between remembrance and reinvention. Billy Gibbons has managed to channel personal grief into collective empowerment, demonstrating that artists can honor lost partners while forging new paths. With every riff, lyric, and fan tribute, the legend of Dusty Hill gains new dimensions. Those watching the next chapter will witness not just a band playing music, but a brotherhood transformed by love, loss, and unwavering dedication. In the weeks and months ahead, ZZ Top will continue touring, recording, and inspiring, carving an indelible mark on the tapestry of rock history that will echo long after the last note fades. The true measure of their journey? How deeply each chord can resonate in the hearts of those who listen, learn, and carry on the beat. Now, as the sun sets on one chapter and rises on the next, ZZ Top stands at a pivotal moment in their remarkable journey. Fans wonder what lies ahead, and the answer emerges in every riff, every chord progression, every lyric written under the weight of memory and the spark of creativity. Billy Gibbons, ever the storyteller, has described this era as a rebirth rather than an ending. "We're not closing the book," he says, voice colored by both reverence and excitement. "We're writing a new page, with Dusty's spirit guiding every word." This sense of forward momentum infuses each rehearsal, recording session, and tour date with an electric charge. Even the most familiar songs take on fresh hues as the band pours old memories into new interpretations. Gibbons' passion extends beyond the stage and studio. He has announced a limited edition series of signature guitars and bass instruments inspired by Dusty's gear, each instrument finished in subtle nods to the late bassist's iconic style. Numbered collectibles include a replica bone bass model, hand-etched with Dusty's signature, and a portion of his final setlist. Proceeds benefit the Dusty Hill Foundation, reinforcing the connection between artistry and philanthropy. Collectors and fans alike are drawn to these instruments not only for their craftsmanship, but for the story each one carries, a tangible way to hold a piece of rock history in their hands. Meanwhile, the documentary project has blossomed into a communal event with live screenings in cities around the globe. Festival organizers curate Q&A sessions featuring Gibbons, Beard, Elwood Francis, and special guests, road crew members, vintage tour bus drivers, and camp musicians who once shared small dressing rooms with the trio. Audiences hear behind-the-scenes anecdotes and watch restored footage of early performances captured on grainy film. Some screenings conclude with collaborative jam circles where local bands perform alongside pre-recorded commentary from Dusty himself. These gatherings transform passive viewing into interactive celebrations that honor Dusty's legacy in real time. In the academic sphere, music historians have begun dissecting ZZ Top's century-spanning influence. University seminars analyze bass techniques pioneered by Dusty, while music theory workshops explore how the band's signature triplet groove underpinned countless blues rock tracks. Students pore over transcriptions of Dusty's accident-free lines, tracing the economy of his playing style, a minimalistic approach that yields maximal impact. Embracing this scholarship, Gibbons sometimes guest lectures, sharing anecdotes and technical insights that only someone who shared decades on the road with Dusty could provide. His presence in these lectures bridges generational divides, validating the importance of rock music as a serious subject of study. Yet amid these successes, Gibbons remains grounded by the memory of quiet backstage moments with Dusty, exchanging wry jokes under dressing room lights, or sipping coffee on a moving bus at dawn. It is in those fleeting instances that the true essence of their partnership reveals itself, a bond built on trust, humor, and a shared love for the groove. To honor that intimacy, Gibbons has instituted a new tradition at every show, a backstage jam open to one randomly selected fan who has attended every tour date, and a local charity organ donation drive. Dusty would have loved seeing fresh faces making music together, Gibbons explains, and giving back to communities that fuel our songs. As this story draws to a close, the lessons of perseverance, loyalty, and creative evolution shine brighter than any stadium lights. ZZ Top is not merely surviving, they are thriving, fueled by memories that spark new visions. In the echo of every bass line, the spirit of Dusty Hill reverberates, reminding us that musical legacies are never static. They evolve, expand, and live on in the collective heartbeat of fans, musicians, and everyone who dares to carry on.